And shifting our focus now to Southern Africa, where power outages have continued to hit Zimbabwe, a landlocked country. In the latest, a power cut interrupted Zimbabwe's parliament, which was in session and was discussing the national budget for the Southern African country. Now, just as the Finance Minister, Neighbour, was finishing his budget speech, lights flickered before going out completely, leaving President Emmerson Mnangagwa and members of Parliament sitting in the dark. Now, before the interruption, the Zimbabwe Finance Minister was projecting a 15% contraction in the agricultural sector this year due to drought, but also said that he expected the country to see a 6% economic growth in 2024, citing expectations of above-average rainfall that could boost power generation. But as the lights went out, opposition MPs shouted that the power cut was an apt metaphor for the country's state of affairs. Local media reports suggest that some opposition leaders even shouted that the House was under attack. And reports also indicate that the power cut during the Parliament session was not planned, according to the Zimbabwe Electricity Supply Authority. The authority said that the Parliament had its own dedicated electricity supply, which is exempted from power cuts, and that the cut was due to a lightning strike. Now, social media users were also quick to comment on the incident. That indicated the severity of the power cuts in Zimbabwe. One user questioned whether there was no power backup in the Parliament complex, while some others said that power outages were a regular affair and that the government was failing to allocate budget towards energy generation. Now, power outages have been a common sight in Zimbabwe. They have been prolonged as a result of drying up of Kariba's dam reservoir due to the El Niño-induced droughts. Water levels at the Kariba Dam have barely been enough to generate power for the Southern African country. Currently, the water levels are only about 2% for power generations. And secondly, aging thermal power stations at Hwange have become more and more unreliable due to frequent disruptions. Due to this, households in Zimbabwe are able to get only 7 hours of electricity per day, and continuous power cuts have threatened economic activities and growth of the country. This has also been the case with neighbouring country Zambia. Now, earlier this week, Zimbabwe had seen a major power disruption, although reports suggest that the reason is still being investigated. The Zimbabwe Power Company said that its national grid had experienced a system disturbance. Local media reports also indicate that Zimbabweans are enduring power cuts lasting up to 18 hours. The Zimbabwe Power Company is only able to generate 1,083 megawatts of power against a national demand of about 2,000 megawatts. Now, keeping the frequent power outages in mind, Zimbabwe, along with Zambia, has been trying to identify ways to attract investors for energy projects and development, and both are now turning to alternative options for power supply. Both the countries hosted an energy project summit earlier this month, highlighting the need to increase investment in wind and solar energy generation. Zimbabwe and Zambia have started exploring floating solar projects on Lake Kariba and are also looking to the west for potential investors. But as Zimbabwe's economy suffers its worst crisis, with its new currency system failing and inflation touching decades high, it is yet to be seen how Zimbabwe is going to meet its energy needs, which are growing day by day.